We'll begin with the salute to the flag, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we begin, wanted to just acknowledge, and I thought it was fitting to do it right after the pledge. You know, for years, whenever we gathered here at these meetings, you know, as we turned around to do the pledge, the first voice that started and everybody just followed was a gentleman named Roland Kinney, who was a regular at our meetings, you know, a regular cast member for many years, and certainly he was. Anybody who knows him knows he was definitely a character, but he was a guy who always had his heart in the right place and cared a lot about the township, cared about his community, and unfortunately, the township and the Kinney family lost him last month. And so it's tough, you know, even just now, just as we did the pledge, I'm hearing his voice. You know, sometimes we'd wait, you know, and like, you know, we turn our backs and just wait for him to start, and everybody would pick up. And so I'll just ask for, obviously, the township sends its condolences to his family and friends, and we'll ask for a moment of silence in his memory, please. Okay, thank you very much. We did have the township, the board did have an executive session before this meeting began. So, Mr. Clark, summary, please.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. The board held an executive session to discuss personnel matters, litigation matters. The board also met with its consultants from Kimmel, Bogret, and T&M Engineers and Concord Public Finance to hear presentations from those three entities.
Thank you. Our first, before we get to our first agenda item, which is public comment, we do have a presentation for the township to make to the Liberty USO, and this is regarding the queue for the troops. Oh, yeah, that would help, wouldn't it? Yeah, sorry. Mrs. Pullen, didn't mean to cut you out of your job there, part of your job. Can we have a roll call, please?
Galloway?
Here.
Mr. Bransky?
Here.
Mr. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Dent?
Here.
Mr. Rocco?
Here.
Okay. It's back on track. We did our, the queue for the troops was held back in June, and I'll let Mr. Dents, he's sort of been leading this charge now for many years, and it's getting bigger and bigger, and but I'll let him
Thank you.
talk about it.
We started 8 years ago, you know, just a handful of people with this barbecue competition. And then every year it's gotten a little bit bigger. And this year we were up to 75 teams. And I remember when it started, Tom Christine, who helped us organize it, told us, it's going to be quite a few years before you actually start making money. And the first few years we made a donation, but this year was our biggest event yet, and we have here a check for $10,300 for Liberty USO, which I think is pretty significant, because we're close to, I think, around $85,000 we've raised so far in 8 years, which is pretty good. So Ms. McLeod is here, so we're going to give her this check. But we also have a couple of our sponsors, the Falls Soccer Club, if you guys could come up. Yeah. Put Tim Watkins on the spot. They wanted to make a donation. Abe Brooks from Abe Brooks Constructions has a donation as well. Abe got on board about 2 years ago, and like I said, we started out, you know, just a handful of people, and our motto was always bigger and better. And Abe and his guys, they take bigger and better to the extreme. They started out with just a tent and a couple of friends, and then it grew to, you know, his vendors and a dunk tank, and he's already talking about ponies for next year, so we like the way he does it.
You gotta invite us.
Of course.
I got Rick Palmer here, too.
We also have Len Pribish from the Delaware Valley Roadrunners Car Club, who they've been with us since the very beginning as well. They do a car show every year.
Also, Rick Palmer, did you hear him?
Yeah, Rick Palmer from Levittown United.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, great.
Ran a baseball tournament
Excellent.
in August, and they raised funds for USO Liberty also.
I was just going to ask for anybody that speaks, you just can move close to the microphone, so otherwise it's not going to get on the video.
Just go in order. Tim,
Nothing
you
you say is going to be heard, so we want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to hear what you've done.
Good evening. Tim Watkins here from the Falls Soccer Club, and I'm going to put Mr. Sean Murphy, who's hiding in the back there, on the spot also. I have a check here that I'm going to present to the USO for $250 in donation. You're welcome.
Yeah, May Brooks with Kangaroo. Like to donate $2,500 for USO Liberty.
Thank you so
Thank you for
much.
everything you do for the guys.
Thank you
All right,
so
Thank you. Mhm.
Rick Palmer from Levittown United Little League. As Abe said, we did a tournament in August that he sponsors, and we raised some money for the USO Liberty, so there's a check for $500.
Thank you so much.
Len Prebish with the Delaware Valley Roadrunners, and we have a check for $1,200 from that day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very nice. And I have 10,300. I guess, well, let me get that.
Should we open it? Yeah.
In the past, like I said, the township supplemented it. You know, we'd give a $5,000 donation each year, but this year, you know, we're all standing alone. This is all money that was donated by our sponsors, and it's our biggest event yet.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Why don't, Bob, we get everyone in front here? Why don't we get everyone over here, and we'll get a... I know.
Joe's not going to believe I came if I don't get someone.
Why don't you all come up over here, and we'll, yeah.
He's at the conference. I guess.
I'll be available for pictures later.
Don't hide that.
this weekend?
Yeah.
This weekend's in Boston.
So I just wanted to take a minute to say a couple words. I'm not sure if that's what we normally do, but I kind of feel like with all of the people from the community that just came up, in addition to the wonderful event that you host every year, I just wanted to say thank you from all of us at Liberty USO. For those of you who don't know what we do, you might remember the Bob Hope stuff, but I don't sing or dance. Believe me, it's a kindness. But what we do is we work alongside of our military families, whether they're active, regard, or in our reserves. So we try to do everything we can to provide care, comfort, and support for these military families. So that might just be something as simple as a meal for Thanksgiving or some extra help around the holidays. We also do transitional programming. We kind of run the gamut. Everybody knows about our care packages. We send thousands of those every year. And the money that you guys are giving us today will allow us to serve our military families to the level that we already do, and hopefully even more. So if anybody wants to find out more or ways to volunteer, get involved, we love community involvement. We have 9 people. We cover the entire state of Pennsylvania and southern New Jersey. So we rely very heavily on our partnerships as well as our volunteers. So any little bit helps. And we love that you guys do this for us each year. It means so much to me personally. I've only been in this role for about 1.5 years, and in that time, I've been so impressed with everything I've seen in this area. So thank you very much, and thank you very much for having me out here today.
Sure. Thank you.
So.
Okay. Yes, and yeah, special thank you to all the businesses, community organizations who also took part, you know, and Tom Christine, again, who started this, but, you know, Mr. Dent's really pioneered this from the beginning and has really been a driving force into making it as big as it is. So he deserves a tremendous amount of thanks, too. So.
Thank you. You know, the one person that does more than anyone, I said this before, that every department in this building is involved in this event somehow, from the police to public works to finance. But Matt Markey, he organizes everything from the teams to ordering the tents and everything else in between. So he does the lion's share of the work, if you would.
So. All right, we're going to move on with our agenda here, public comment, looking at the sign-in sheet. Again, we have a 5-minute maximum for speaking. We do allow comments, too, on agenda items, so if there's a specific agenda item you're here to speak on, there's not a whole lot here, I think, that might draw a lot of people out. But if you're here to talk about a specific agenda item, you can speak on that. You don't have to speak in public comment. But we'll ask every person to keep their comments to 5 minutes. Ray Galenti?
Hey, good evening, everybody. Ray Galenti, Falls Township.
Yeah.
Ray Galenti, Falls Township. Good evening. Yes, I'd just like to thank the Falls Township Police Department and the Fire Marshal's Office for holding their Citizens Academies. I don't know if anybody else has, been up here thanking them, but I attended both of them, and the main crew for the police was Officer Yeager, Lieutenant Whitney, and Corporal Wolverton. And for the Fire Marshal's Office, it was Rich DiPolito, Mike Margarine, and Ed Pullen. All good men, a really good job. I learned a lot about their jobs, both the fire and the police, and I picked up a lot of personal information that, I could use at my house. I did not follow that sidewalk project on New Falls Road that closely, but I've been over there, and it was a great idea. I know it was expensive, but I think it worked out pretty good. So that brings up Trenton Road. Trenton Road from the 800 block, which is the United Methodist Church, out to Tyburn Road. There's no sidewalk. There's sidewalk on the left, then there's sidewalk on the right, then no sidewalk, patchway all the way down. Now, I know that's not a main walkway like over by the schools, but I was just wondering why John's Driving School did not install a sidewalk when they renovated the building. They did a great job, looks wonderful, he has a great business. They did not install a sidewalk which would have connected the bank to Oak Lane. And they did not even cut the curbs. So that's my question, for tonight. I don't know if you can answer it, or I can give you information, or you can refer me to who might know that answer. And also the expense that was put out for the Falls Township Community Park to control the geese. I've been over there, and it was another great job. And, I think I've seen at the most a half a dozen geese. So down the line, when this YMCA thing comes about, you might want to refer that company to them, because Lake Caroline, they found a home there. In the wintertime, there was hundreds of them there, and it was just, their droppings were overwhelming. I have a dog, so it was quite the challenge. So, well, that's all I have for tonight. Thanks a lot.
Well, I can answer the one question. First, thank you for the comments regarding the two academies. The Police Academy, or Citizens Academy, just started last week, so I got a chance to come and just talk a little bit and thank the people that are involved. So, but they do run very, very good programs, and we thank them for their work. And that was really something that the police sort of came up on their own. That wasn't a case of us saying, "Hey, why don't you do this?" That was them coming to us and saying, "Hey, we'd like to do this. This is a good idea." And it's been fantastic. With regards to the sidewalks, I think one of the issues in terms of sidewalks, Trenton Road toward Tyburn, is that intersection is not necessarily one where I think we want to encourage a lot of people to be pedestrians at, and so I think that's one of the concerns I have anyway. But as regards to John's Driving School, typically if there's a land development, they are going to be required to do sidewalks. That's a decision we made as a board a couple of years ago, to start asking or start requiring sidewalks, for a long time that wasn't required. What happened in John's really wasn't a land development. It really was just refurbishing the building. So they kind of fell. It'd be as if anybody who just does put new siding on their house or something like that. we
Yes,
don't
but
necessarily go through.
I forgot that there also were businesses and residents on Trenton Road that were forced to put sidewalks in. I mean, in the recent,
For bigger, yeah, for I know that the Puss in Boots was, for example, I know that's one of them, but that was a larger scale project where they're putting on additions and they're doing a lot more work
Okay.
than just refurbishing a building and remodeling the interior. If they had knocked the building down and then built a bigger one and done something else, that would have been a land development project, which would have required more work, engineering reviews, and then they would have had to put sidewalks in.
all right.
So it's just a threshold of where you are in terms of work. It's similar with a lot of businesses. You might go to a restaurant, and it might be a restaurant that's been there for a while, but the bathrooms still aren't ADA compliant. And one of the reasons is because as long as they keep the threshold under a certain amount in terms of what they're spending, they don't have to retrofit the bathrooms to make them compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act. And so that's what a lot of places choose to do. And they choose to kind of keep the building the same and not do a whole lot of work, because then those other things they have to do kick in. So that's kind of where they fell in terms of John's driving school.
Okay.
Okay,
All right. Thank you.
thanks. Julie Winberg.
Hello.
Hi.
Good evening, sirs. My name is Julie Winberg, and I have been a resident of Falls for over 30 years. I am here this evening to address the current state of our local dog ordinances. On the afternoon of April 2nd, while out on a walk with our two 17-pound Yorkie Bijans, we were attacked by a neighbor's dog who escaped his residence and attacked my dog Angie, causing significant injuries. My purpose today is to ask the Board of Supervisors to amend the current dogs at large laws concerning the absence of a leash ordinance. I hope to spare other Falls dog owners the experience we have gone through so far. I would like this ordinance to mandate the use of a leash and under physical control by the owner or keeper when said dogs are not confined to the premise of the owner by means of a secured fence. As the local ordinance reads now, the dog cannot be deemed a nuisance, vicious, or destructive if the attack on the pet occurs on the front lawn. Without witnesses, there would be no proof if the attack happened on the front lawn or the sidewalk. This leaves a he said, she said situation, causing the attacked persons with the burden to prove otherwise, huge vet bills, and the additional cost of hiring a lawyer, days off work, asking witnesses to take days off work, and sheer stress. Doylestown and New Hope Borough recently passed laws requiring dogs to be leashed. The last point I would like to make is about the belief that dogs can run free out front. On August 31st, my granddaughter, she has special needs, was walking home from the bus and was chased into the street by a neighbor's dog. His name is Cash. And later, it was sitting in front of my house. I have a copy of a Facebook conversation where the owner simply states that her dogs will still be playing out front, and a response from a friend that goes on to concur, saying, they are allowed to be off leash as long as they stay on your property, right? The photos I provided, which I have here if you'd like to see them, show the dog off property. The laws as they stand do not give the animal control officer power to keep us safe. I believe that most hardworking people simply do not have the money, time, or resources to address this issue, and would welcome this change as it creates a safer situation in Falls Township. That's all I have to say. Thank you for listening and considering my proposal.
Okay. All right, thank you. And I think I said in an email, I think I told you, 4 of the 5 of us up here are dog owners. And so certainly, we'd never like to hear about, any dogs or, being injured or an attack like what happened to you. So certainly, it's something, that bothers us, as people that love animals. And even the member who's not necessarily a dog owner, that doesn't necessarily mean doesn't like dogs. It just, it's
busy with my kids.
yeah, at the baseball field's too much to have one. We've gotten the input you've sent us, and we talked a little bit with our solicitor, and he's kind of taking a look at state law and looking at some other, ordinances in different communities, and we're having discussions just amongst ourselves. But, one of the things I know there is, some debate, and I know there's some back and forth in terms of what exactly you can and can't do if a dog is actually on the property. There are certain restrictions that are on us as a board. We can't just, we have to have things, the ability to pass certain laws. So, but definitely we'll definitely think about what you said and continue the conversation with ourselves and ask our legal team to keep kind of looking in and give us some feedback so that we can make some decisions in the future about what direction we want to go in, and obviously welcome other conversations or other comments from other people.
There is someone else here. She signed in, but a little bit, she signed in a little bit later, so
Okay.
she's not right after me.
Okay.
Donna Lear.
Okay.
She had a similar situation of walking her dog actually in the street, and a dog escaped the house and chased her down and attacked one of her dogs as well. So I don't know if you want to bring her up right after or.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you telling me. We do usually kind of go in order just to be fair to everybody
Okay.
who came in. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
Would you like
thanks.
to see these photos?
If you want to share them, sure.
We're not even sure what to put in.
Okay.
That was actually another day, and then this was the day that chased my granddaughter, and then 2 hours later, it was sitting on my lawn.
That's your lawn there.
Well, it's on here, on this side, and that's the neighbor's driveway.
And
Is it
that's
a border collie?
the dog's.
I think
Yeah.
it is a
Yeah,
border
it looks like
collie.
that's the dog's property or the dog's owner's property, or no?
This is Neptune Lane.
Uh-huh.
They live on Nightingale.
Oh,
So,
Okay.
yeah, like 3 hours later, the dog decided to then come to my house. I must have had her scent.
okay.
My granddaughter's autistic,
Mm.
so I actually called Pensbury today to, here's another one, but probably about 130-pound dog, no leash. And I have quite a few more, I just keep taking them as I find them.
Sure. Okay.
But, I actually called Pensbury and asked the bus to drop off closer because we're terrified.
Concerned. Sure. Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can keep those.
All right, thank you. Guido Mariani? There's when we had executive session.
Mike's getting nervous. He thought that was.
Guido Mariani, Falls Township. Some observations about the proposed Y that I've been reading about. Now, as a counterpart of development, open space is publicly regulated to serve conservation in addition to providing the recreational opportunities. And the benefits that open space, which is what we have now, has 3 basic forms. It's recreation, ecology, and an aesthetic value. Recreational may include active recreation like using the pool that the Y now will begin to manage if that thing is built, or simply passive recreation, that's just being in open space and enjoying it. Ecological serves as an island of nature, providing biodiversity and a home for some species like the deer that are living there, the rabbits and the birds and so on. The aesthetic value, that's open space. It's self-evident. It just decreases the level of stress that you may have. But a word about value. Properties near open space tend to have a higher value. Those properties, like those on Olds Boulevard, Hood Boulevard, Drexelwood, Fairbridge, near the site of this proposed building and how it's going to be used, I believe will use value once this thing is built, if it's permitted to be built. Another thing is open spaces, which we have now, is financially beneficial to our local Falls government, reducing the cost of a public infrastructure. Now, in their presentation to the planning board, the Y said they were aware of a floodplain, that they have to be careful in regard to stormwater management near that site. That's not a secret. The loss of drainage benefits alone will call for construction to control flooding or other infrastructure to control stormwater at this location. To have problems there before, and you build, you'll have problems again. Then the board added a buffer requirement should be met since a lot of trees will be cut down. There's a lot of trees there. They're all going to come down. I want you to note, one large tree can lift up to 100 gallons of water out of the ground and discharge it into the air in one day. One large tree can supply a day's supply of oxygen for 4 people. A barrier doesn't, in our code in Falls Township, doesn't require it be trees. It could be something else. The natural drainage provided by open space, which is what we have now, significantly reduces municipal cost of our water management. Now, the U.S. Government Accountability Office notes on lands with natural ground cover, only 10% of the precipitation becomes runoff. 90% of it is infiltrated into the ground. When 75% of a site is covered with impervious surface, 55% becomes runoff. On paved parking lots like the Y, 98% is runoff, which is what you're going to have. Now, from Pennsbury School to Queen Anne's about 1/10 of a mile. From Olds to Oxford Valley Road is about 4/10 of a mile. In my opinion, you build on that site, and St. Francis Cabrini might as well begin to build their ark now, because I think they're going to need it, and you may need water wings for the 9 o'clock mass, sir. Now, you add to that Lakeview Terrace, Oxford Valley Golf Course, Fairbridge, Queen Anne Plaza, Fearless Hills. They're all within about 3,300 feet of each other, around a kilometer. You have a problem there. If you go to the present location of the Y, there's about 125 parking spaces there. If that lot turns 3, 4, 5 times a day, think of all the running cars that aren't at the proposed site now, the additional volume on the area infrastructure. Olds and Hoods Boulevard, not made for that kind of traffic. The increase in the number of gallons of water and so on that are going to have to be supplied to that area, the parking on residential streets, on and on. Now, some basic infrastructure cost increases that I believe this township is going to be burdened with if we allow that Y to be built. Water and service facilities, sewer system, storm drain system, park and recreational, fire and EMS, police facilities, solid waste facilities, power generation and distribution system, and so on and so forth. About 10 seconds, Mr. Chairman. Now, the decision-making, which is what you gentlemen are going to have to do, the decision-making here explicitly should examine the economic, the environmental, and the quality of life considerations and how it will best serve our Falls community for the long-term interest, especially the quality of life. I think that's an awful bad decision. Now, as a resident of Falls and of Bucks County, I own part of that property. I'm a co-owner of that property. I don't want to sell it. I don't want to rent it. And I don't want to donate it. There are numerous other sites where you could build a Y. I think that's a terrible, terrible location to do it. That's your decision. You folks who are at home, let this board know exactly which way you want them to go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Well, if I could just say something,
Absolutely.
Mr. Marinelli, I'm going to be a neighbor. Oh, I am a neighbor of that park, and I'm in it every morning. And just without holding you up, I have started to hear from many of my neighbors in Fairless Hills, their concerns.
And we've started to see the signs popping up around the neighborhood, Save Lake Caroline. So I hear your concern, and I'm sure we're all going to listen to the residents of Fairless Hills.
Oh, yeah, I listened to the Y, and they're talking about Lake Caroline, and the first thing that pops into my head is a boat ramp and
Sidewalks.
You're going to need
Sidewalks.
Don't forget
a
the
fishing
sidewalks.
pier, you know. Thank God we won't have to pay for that, though. That's county.
I want to add one thing. Yes, that was county open space. That was never designated open space by the township.
Right. Yeah. And just,
Thank you very much.
sure, thank you. And just for, just so we understand, Mr. Manny talks about decisions that have to be made. We're not, we don't have to make any decisions simply because we have never heard any presentations. The Y has not presented anything to us. I know they've kind of been on the schedule or the agenda a couple times, and I think that possibly, maybe November they might be in front of us just to give us a sketch plan, which is just a concept of what they want to do. But of course, if they ever do kind of come in front of us, I know they're trying to do some outreach and get some public input, and how they do that and what their plans are, obviously their plans. So we'll have some questions for them, and we already have some sort of in our minds. But up to the, it really isn't anything for us to decide because they haven't really asked us to even look at anything yet. So, but appreciate your input, and we've definitely gotten emails, and as Mr. Galloway says, heard from neighbors and friends. So, but thank you. And I think your points are well taken. I didn't realize you were such an environmentalist. It's interesting to see that
It's a new hobby.
transition.
Snipes when I need it.
Amy Ransley.
Hi, I'm Amy Ransley. I live in Fallsington. I'm here tonight to find out what can be done about a dangerous situation in Falls Township. For the past year, cars from John's Driving School have increased throughout Fallsington, the neighborhood of Fallsington. This is a huge safety issue, especially since the streets are small and there are no sidewalks. Many people in the town and parents who send their children to Fallsington Elementary School are also concerned about the safety conditions, especially when they see student drivers on the road as they are walking their children to and from school. And when the kids are let out of school, there's a driving school car coming through the crosswalk in front of the school when there's already enough traffic of parents and buses picking up their children. As you know, Fallsington has a park where people come and bring their children and pets. Many families walk to the park and throughout the neighborhood, again, without sidewalks daily. There has been at least one time a student driver has driven up on the lawn in front of my home. We did call the school to ask if they could use alternative routes in addition to ours so there wouldn't be as much traffic through one little town. The owner was not responsive to our request. It's not only John's driving school. There's at least 4 other driving schools from outside cities or towns using John's for their students to get their driver's license. I don't know how such a high-impact business has been able to come into this small town. Just this past Monday, between 3:30 and 4:30, I saw 9 driving school cars pass my house. And that's just what I saw when I was outside, so there probably was even more. Some days, John's cars go past more than 40 times a day in front of my house. How many cars are you going to allow John's Driving School to have on our streets? I would just like John's Driving School to have a limited number of cars per day and per neighborhood and find routes in multiple areas where there's sidewalks so it's safe for all families in Falls Township. I hope that you can please resolve this before someone gets hurt or killed on our streets.
Okay. Thank you. I see a couple other addresses from Fallsington, so I'm assuming that there are similar concerns, so we'll let everybody speak. Caitlin Martin?
Hi. I'm Caitlin Martin. I also live in Fallsington. Same area as Amy, but different street. Oh, sorry. Different street. Happen to live in a corner. I've had similar issues with the driving school. I moved here about 2.5 years ago. I love the community. It's small, tight-knit, very safe. But within the past year, I've noticed a lot more traffic in the neighborhood. The traffic that I was used to was minimal and just during school times, which is natural. But since I live on a corner lot, I tend to see a lot more traffic, and it's been getting busier and busier with the driving school. Same as Amy, where I see multiple cars per day. And it's gotten to a point where it's frustrating for me because since I live on the corner, there's been multiple times I can't get out my driveway because they're sitting there at the stop sign. And I know that they're educating them, but it's hard for me when I'm trying to get to work. I work in a hospital, and I can't get out my driveway, and I feel terrible when I have to honk at them because I need to get out, and they're blocking my driveway because they're sitting there for a few minutes at a time talking. In addition to that, just the amount of traffic. There's no sidewalks in our part of the neighborhood, so I feel like it's unsafe. I don't have any children of my own, but I do have dogs, and I do walk them frequently, and I do feel unsafe sometimes with the amount of traffic with the student drivers who I don't know their level of driving, or the drivers themselves that are in the school, who they are. They're frequently coming through the neighborhood. I recently had, it's probably unrelated, but I had an incident a few weeks ago where my neighbors had to call the police to my house because there was some random person actually walking around and snooping on my property, looking in my windows. And it just makes me nervous, since I live alone, that there's this extra traffic of all these people. I don't know who they are, whether they're the drivers or the teachers, going through the neighborhood constantly. I don't know where they're coming from, but since I'm gone all day, it just makes me nervous about people driving through around my house and who's looking at my house, and just for the safety of the community. So I feel the same way. I don't think that they shouldn't be able to drive there, but I wish there was a way to limit the amount, and if there was other places that they could go, because it is a community of people constantly walking around, and you should feel safe walking on your own streets. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Dan Kearney.
Hi, Dan Kearney, 290 Yardley Avenue. I purchased my house 4 years ago in an investment for my future. I do not plan on moving. My quality of life has been impacted heavily by John's driving school. There is car after car driving past all day. I've had incidents with rookie drivers several times not letting me back out of my own driveway. There has also been several incidents of near accidents. I called John's to complain about it, and the owner, Jason, said, everybody makes mistakes. No apology for his inexperienced drivers. His response was he's going to have 200-plus cars a day drive by my house. He's a nice guy. I have 2 boys that walk to Fallsington Elementary School. There is no sidewalks. John's students drive by when school lets out the worst time of the day when my 2 boys are walking home from school. I've seen his drivers early as 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., even on the weekends. I was never sent a letter about a business driving past my house all day. There are 4 different driving schools running out of John's. I'm being flooded by his impact business on my privacy. Who approved a high-impact business to run through Fallsington? I can't even pull out of my driveway fearing an accident. I don't feel it's safe for my kids to play in my front yard. When I cut my grass, I got to look around. I got to be on my toes all the time with inexperienced drivers. I said to John, why don't you drive past your house all day? And he, see how your neighbors like it. It's just ridiculous. It's like all day long. It's out of control. So I don't know what can be done about it, but
okay,
it's too much.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you. So this is the first, obviously I live in Nottingham, so I'm driving through Old Fallsington myself, periodically, and obviously I've noticed an increase in the traffic of the cars. But the one answer, without actually having obviously spoken to the owner of the driving school and getting his thoughts and listening to his side, the one short answer, which you may not like, is the fact that it's public roads. And so public roads are allowed to be used by the public. It's not a high-impact business simply because it doesn't fit that category, and so in terms of calling it that, certainly we want to make sure that business owners, we all like all our business owners to work with our communities, and we'll certainly reach out to the owner and just get his thoughts and seeing if there's some kind of a compromise that can be made to make sure that some of the issues, quite frankly, I think that certainly the times when the kids are going to school, kids are leaving school, I think that's a reasonable, request in terms of maybe not having the drivers through there as much. So, but we're not going to take second comments. It's, no, sorry. And so, but that's certainly, I think, a reasonable request, and we can certainly talk about that amongst ourselves. But thank you for airing the concerns, and we'll certainly see, we'll have some conversations and hopefully come to some kind of resolution. Okay? Donna Lear is the last name on our list.
Hi, good evening. My name is Donna Lear, and I've been a resident of Falls for 55 of my 60 years, and I've been walking the drives in the sections for that amount of time. And I saw Angie Winberg's article in the paper about her dog being attacked, and I just wanted to come up and say a few words. A couple years ago, my husband and I were out for a stroll, and a dog escaped out of a house, entered the street, went past his house, to the next house, to the next house, chased us down, grabbed a hold of my Chihuahua, and started to eat it. My husband tried to get the pit bull off of the Chihuahua, twisted the collar. The pit bull bit my husband. Finally, one of the dog's owners came down and got the dog off. Consequently, the dog had 60 stitches because I watched as this pit bull, was eating my dog. Now, I've been a member of this community for quite a long time, and I've seen Falls Township grow in many good ways and in maybe not so many good ways. But all in all, the dog community has taken a huge leap. What I found out, we did take the owners to court. They lost. They took it to a higher court. They lost. And a few months later, the dog was put down because of aggression. A year before this attack, I was walking my dog again, and another dog escaped from a house and attacked us. Thankfully, we got my dog up in time. A month after my dog attacked, we were attacked again by 3 dogs who left their yard and ran down the street after me to eat my dog. Now, I'm not saying that dogs do not get out of their house. We all have dogs here, and occasionally they get out of the house. But I'm saying that people are just not, they're not heeding warning. They're not like, okay, is the fence loose? It happens. But when you have an aggressive dog, or you have a dog that you know is just downright mean, you have to be aware of that. And I think the Falls Township is not looking that way. It's just letting it go. If you all have dogs, and if you've ever had your dog being eaten in front of you by another dog, then you're going to realize the trauma that it causes. And the reason I decided to come up and support this young lady is because it didn't happen in this township, but my daughter was walking her baby and had her Springer Spaniel on a leash, and a dog escaped out of the front yard who was sitting there loosely, and they got into a skirmish right in front of her while she had her hand on the stroller. Her feet got caught up in the dog leash. She let go of the stroller, and the stroller went out into the street and flipped over. Now, this is nothing that's happened here in Falls Township, but we're setting ourselves up for things like this. Falls Township really needs to let its residents know how strict they are on dog laws. This is not a problem that is something that should be taken lightly. It is not a growing concern. It is a concern. We have to address this. People have more than one animal now, and with the onset of of more aggressive animals, we have to really, we can't turn a blind eye on this. This is huge. And if we don't do something, if we don't make this, if we don't like put more laws into effect, if we don't put our foot down, and if we don't let our residents know that this will not be tolerated, then we're going to see accidents like this happen right and left. And it's a shame, because when we called the police when this happened, and it's almost like the officer just wasn't quite sure what to do. And we called the control officer, and he was nice and he was helpful, but it took 6 months to get this dog taken care of. So I'm asking you, please. I know that seems like there are far worse things in the township going on, but when you can't walk in your community and feel safe, I walk with dog mace, and I don't walk before 9 o'clock in the morning, and I do not walk after 4:30, because that's when people let their dogs out, and they might not latch the front door, they let them run on the front yard. We have to have some sort of law-abiding citizens where we say, you know what, we know there's a problem and we need to fix it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, all the people who spoke about their concerns, and obviously, as board members, we'll definitely be talking amongst ourselves and with our professionals about the issues that you've raised. We're going to move on with our agenda. We've hit the maximum for our public comment. Item number 2 on our agenda is Britton Industries, which is the amended final plan. This is 1 MY Lane. Mr. Gray?
Yes, this is for Britton Industries. The applicant's proposed project involves the creation of 12 leased lots and paved driveway with 24 parking spaces. Representing the applicant tonight is Mr. Tom Hecker.
Members of the board, good evening. Tom Hecker on behalf of the applicant. With me is John Richardson from Dumac Engineering, and also to my left, Mr. Dan Carr from Britton Industries. The board may recall that in September of 2015, the board granted a preliminary final approval to Britton Industries for a plan that proposed the creation of similar leasehold lots, but also involved some proposal with regard to building a mulching operation at this facility. The property is somewhat unique because there is a municipal boundary line that divides Falls Township from Morrisville. It goes to this property. Part of the development, obviously, was in Morrisville Borough. For different reasons, after Falls Township approved it, my client elected not to proceed with the mulching operation. Has eliminated that, and we've redrawn some lease lines, so he would still like to create the leasehold parcels that were originally proposed. There's really no building being proposed at this time. It's really just a creation of the leasehold for leasing to current and future tenants. We've been provided with a proposed resolution, and the waivers that are in the resolution were waivers that this board previously granted back in September of 2015. We can go through the ones that remain. Without any construction being proposed, we've eliminated the waivers that board previously granted relating to slopes, woodlands, and environmentally sensitive property. I think John has put up on the board for you the plan that we are proposing this evening, and also you have a smaller version of the plan that the board previously approved 2 years ago. You'll see that we have significantly reduced the area of development, and in fact, it is just the area in Falls Township where we are proposing the leasehold interest that we need to create. If you'd like, we can go through waivers that remain, but again, they're the same ones board previously granted. We're really not proposing any development at this time. But we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. All right, comments or questions for Mr. Hecker regarding the proposal? Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Brasky?
None.
Mr. Dents?
No.
Mr. Rocco?
None.
Mr. Sullivan, anything from you?
I have no questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay. The only thing I'm noticing is the fire marshal's letter from June 17th regarding the submittal talking about a truck turning diagram. Please resubmit using a 43-foot straight body fire truck. So I don't know if that's something you're familiar with your work.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Any public comment needed? Imagine would be. Okay, so this would be resolution 1724. Okay, is there a motion to authorize resolution or in favor of resolution 17-24, Britton Industries?
So moved.
Second.
Britton Realty, excuse me, Britton Realty. Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
See if you can beat that.
Mr. Hecker.
That's what he thought he was at.
It's okay. I'll let it go this time.
Okay, next item on our agenda is item number 3, AccuFire Protection, Final Land Development. Mr. Gray.
Yes, the applicant's proposed project involves the construction of a new industrial building to supplement the existing AccuFire fabrication operations, along with the associated parking, utilities, and stormwater management facilities. Representing the applicant tonight is Mr. Ed Murphy.
Good evening, thanks. To my left is no relation Vince Murphy, who is the, I should be related. I'd like to be adopted, but not yet. Vince is the owner, founder of AccuFire, and what we have in front of you tonight is another Falls Township success story. Vince can tell you just a brief bit about AccuFire, but they've been there for 17 years at near the intersection of Newford Mill and Progress Drive, and anxious to expand, and this project represents nearly a 50,000 square foot addition on an adjacent parcel which Vince and his company are purchasing. But I think a lot of people probably don't know much about AccuFire and that they've been here for almost a generation, and be good to hear from Vince briefly about nature of what they do and why this property and the expansion is so important for their business in Falls.
Sure. Yeah.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Vince Murphy. And as Ed had mentioned, AccuFire's a family business. My wife and I started it 25 years ago. We started in Langhorne, Pennsylvania, in a 12,000 square foot building. And we're able to buy some property at U.S. Steel, 6 acres, which was the initial building, which is about 45,000 square feet. And then we had a phase 2, which is the back end of that building, which is another 30,000 square feet. And basically in that building, we are customizing pipe for fire sprinkler systems. So we service New York City to Washington, D.C., all of New Jersey, most of Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, a little bit of Virginia. And we basically run up and down the Northeast Corridor, 95, and commercial buildings. So we're doing some large jobs in Jersey City, Hoboken, New York City, and Philadelphia. So never had the, never foresaw how big the market would get, and never really thought we could do as good a job as we've had in the support of the contractors in those market areas. But we focus on the large, successful contractors, and they've been very good to us, so we're continue to grow. And this new building's going to be more distribution. We have pipe valves and fittings in the old building, but we've maxed it out, and we're looking to do more fabrication, more production out of the old building, and move most of the pipe valves and fittings at it, and sprinkler heads that, you know, the rest of the package for the fire contractor.
Okay.
The plan has gone through the normal, typical reviews in the township. We've been to your zoning hearing board. We've been most recently to your planning commission last month, and we're here tonight seeking final plan approval. The staff has provided me with a courtesy copy of the approval resolution with which we have no issue. The review letters are all will complies, but the plan is really clean and I think ready for action tonight. I'm happy to answer any other questions, but I think Jim, I don't know if Jim has any other issues that he wants to bring to our attention.
Jim has issues, but I don't know if he has issues with your plan.
Yeah, well, he does have a lot of issues, I know that, but one of which he's going to fix next week, I hope, so we all have to keep feeling sorry for him as he limps around. But,
Yes.
I have no questions or comments for this applicant at this time. Thank you.
Comments or questions for either of the Mr. Murphys? We had an earlier Mr. Murphy here too. So we're full of Murphys today.
We're usually outnumbered.
No, well, yeah, well, the other Mr. Murphy is same. Mr. Galloway.
No, it just sounds like quite a success story, and I wish you the best. Thank you.
No questions. Good luck.
No?
Okay, thank you.
Questions?
Thank you.
What's the white? The white on that?
The parking?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, congratulations and best of luck to you.
Thank you.
And you did say, Mr. Ed Murphy, that you had seen the letters from the fire marshal and from the traffic engineers too?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't have any other concerns other than those. Mr. Sullivan's good. No public comment needed, I guess. Okay. Okay, so is there a motion then to approve Resolution 17-25, which is final land development for AccuFire?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So as people know, the board has been, the township has been looking for several years now at the possibility of, originally it was to renovate this building, and then that changed into constructing a new building. Bids for that project went out over a month ago. They did come back. Our intention this evening was to move forward with that project in terms of awarding bids, and then with item number 5 on our agenda to have a presentation, public presentation by someone who does financing for municipalities for projects like this in school districts, et cetera, for projects like this. However, with a project that's as big as this one's going to be, as you can imagine, the bids that came in, the 5 different types of contractors and multiple bids on all the different issues. It was something that we feel to do it tonight would be too rushed. We really want to give our staff a little bit more time to really kind of go through everything and make sure all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed. We have obviously a duty to the township to make sure that we're doing this right, and you know, this is one of those things you only want to have to do once. And so we're going to give our staff, I think, the decision made. We're going to, I think, table items 4 and 5 so that we can have our staff go through a little bit more deeply into the numbers and present us with a real good report on what it is that we want to do. Is there a motion to that effect to table items 4 and 5?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And items.
I'm a no to table.
You're a no? Okay.
I'm a no to table.
And tabling items, there's no public comment on table or any comment on tabling. So we'll move forward with agenda item number 6, which is consider proposals from the Bucks County Consortium regarding the purchase of rock salt for 2017-2018. Mr. Gray?
The Bucks County Consortium salt bid was opened by Doylestown Borough, and the results were forwarded to Falls Township. Morton Salt was low bid at $48.82 a ton delivered. The board is asked to consider Morton Salt for salt purchases for the year 2017-18. And as a comparison, last year the township paid $56.13 a ton delivered.
So that's, I guess that's the good thing about having a mild winter. So nobody comment or no? Okay, all right. Comments or questions for Mr. Gray?
No.
No.
No. Okay. Is there a motion then to award the bid for or to accept the bid from Bucks County Consortium Salt for Morton Salt at $48.82 a ton delivered?
So moved. Seconded.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Okay, items 7, 8, and 9 all start out the same way. These are all minimum municipal obligations, MMOs. Essentially, there's the state law that says that the township must publicly reveal how much money has to be allocated for pension obligations moving forward. This is for 3 different types of employees who receive pensions. Police non-uniform, and the other one just went right into my head. The municipal retirement system. So Mr. Gray is going to go through each of these. We do have to vote on these separately. There's 3 different resolutions, but we'll do number 7 here first with the police pension plan. Mr. Gray.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first resolution for consideration is for the police pension plan. This particular MMO would be for $2,832,336. This particular pension plan is a defined benefit plan, and the board has asked consideration for this pension plan at this time.
Okay. Any, I should have probably asked this up front. Any comments or questions regarding any of the pension MMO information? All right. Okay. It is pretty straightforward. It's just mathematics, based on salaries and longevity and et cetera, et cetera. These numbers are given to us by an actuarial firm.
Yes.
So, this is what the numbers are, basically. We don't really have any impact or ability to change these. Any public comment? No? Okay, is there a motion then to approve Resolution 1726? MMO, go ahead. Sorry.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, next is the MMO for the non-uniform.
Yes, the non-uniform is for basically the administrative staff. This pension plan is a defined contribution plan. This amount is $126,361.
Comments or questions?
No.
Okay. This is Resolution 1727. Is there a motion in favor of Resolution 1727?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
And finally, the last one is Falls Township PMRS pension plan. That's for the Public Works Department. There are 16 members. This particular amount is $63,714.
Okay. Comments or questions?
No.
None.
No? Is there a motion then to approve Resolution 1728?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, sticking with Mr. Gray, this is all up his alley here, all these numbers. We're considering authorization for advertisement for the audit for the 2017 financial records. Mr. Gray?
A legal notice has been prepared to be published in the Courier Times notifying the public of the township's intent to appoint a firm of certified public accountants to audit the township's 2017 financial records. This notice is being published in accordance with Article 9, Section 917B2 of the Second Class Township Code. The board is asked to consider authorization to advertise, and the certified public accountant would be Major and Mastro.
Okay, comments or questions regarding the authorization to advertise?
No questions.
None. Okay, public comment? See no hands. Okay, is there a motion in favor of authorizing the advertisement?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes from August 15th. We were down 2 Jeffs that night. Yeah. So,
I did see the video, though, and excellent minutes as always, Mrs. Pullen.
there's video?
Of the meeting?
I'm kidding. Any other comments, questions, concerns?
No.
No.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Abstains?
Abstention.
Okay. All right. Engineers report dated September 14th, 2017. Mr. Sullivan?
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. The 2017 road program, Walton Drive is moving along quite well. All the storm sewer is installed, all the curbing has been installed. They're now working sidewalks on one side of the street. As soon as they finish both sides of the street with sidewalks, they will start road reconstruction. Again, we anticipate that should be done easily before the end of October and probably before then. And as soon as that part's finished, then the landscapers will take over. Speaking of the landscapers, Bustleton Services has committed to coming back to Howley Drive either at the end of this week or the beginning of next week to remove all unwanted vegetation, their words, and to rototill any areas that are bare and reseed them. We'll have to make sure that they water the grass this time, which is something that didn't do very well in the spring. So that seems to be the way to go, and we sure hope that that's what happens. We still have their money, we still have a contract, we still have bonds, so we still have control over what they do. Both the fishing pier and its installation of the footbridge in Vermilion Hills, notice of intent to awards have been issued to ABC Construction. They're both currently in the responsible contractor review period. We anticipate that to be done sometime probably the middle of next month, and then we'll have a schedule as to when those projects can be started and completed. We released fabrication for the bridge to the contractor who's responsible for that. So that takes about 6 weeks for them to finish the bridge. And I believe that's all I have at this time.
All right, comments or questions for Mr. Sullivan? Mr. Gutt?
Just that it would be great to see the bridge in Vermilion Hills get taken care of this fall or winter, once and for all.
Yeah, we kind of thought that was going to happen during the summer, but it's been delayed for a couple of reasons.
Good news.
Mr. Bresky? No? No? Mr. Rocco?
Yeah, just one comment. It's about the Burger King on New Falls Road.
Mm-hmm.
They seem like they put that together fairly fast.
They did do that very quickly.
Yeah, is there, can you make sure that they didn't cut any corners?
They didn't cut any corners, Mr. Rocco. They did a very nice job. They've striped everything yellow, which is kind of interesting, but normally you don't do that in the parking lot. You don't have yellow stripes, but apparently that's what they do in all Burger Kings. So we're looking to see if that's actually something that you're allowed to do by code. So that's a work in progress.
Cool looking building, but
yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right. Okay, is there a motion to accept the engineer's report as presented?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, bill list for tonight, $1,980,734.97. Out of that almost $2 million budget, $1.2 million is healthcare and salaries, and then another almost $300,000 for the road work that's being done, so that's 1.5. And then a little more for that is actually highway aid fund, highway aid fund, crime prevention fund. Those are state funds, and the escrow fund is money that developers put up. So roughly 1.6 out of the 1.6 out of the 2 million is just those couple items: salary, benefits, the road program, and also some state funds and escrow money. Comments or questions about the bills?
None.
No.
Okay. No comment, public comment? See no hands. Okay, is there a motion then to pay the bills, $1,980,734.97?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Dent?
Yes.
Yes.
Police chief's report. I know we have Lieutenant Ward here, pinch hitting.
Chief Wilcox has a family commitment tonight, so he's unable to make the meeting. He wanted me to let you know that Officer Blickey, one of our new hires, has almost completed his field training program. He should be on the street within the next 2 weeks. Coffee with a Cop will be Monday, October 7th at the Senior Citizen Center on Oxford Valley Road. It will start at 9 o'clock in the morning. For anybody who would like to come, it's open to all. We've also just started our Falls Township Citizens Police Academy last week. We're in the second week. I believe there's 12 people that are in the class this year. We are also presently addressing problems and traffic concerns on South Olds Boulevard. We completed all our studies and we're in the enforcement stage now. If anybody does have any problems with traffic, please contact us. We'll address your concerns and get a plan on it. Our DARE classes have started in all Pennsbury School District schools and the private schools that we are responsible for. Officer Yeager is heading that this year. We are also presently preparing to start the second year of Chief for a Day with our elementary students from different schools in the district. That is where we bring an elementary school, usually 10 to 12 years old, and he'll spend the day with the chief, and he will actually be the chief for the day. It was very successful last year, so we're starting that again this year. We are also presently looking into 7 replacement programs for our rapid recovery program. If anybody does not know that, anybody who has a special needs child or somebody who's suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's disease, we equip them with a bracelet so that if they do go missing, we can track them down by GPS. We've had this program for probably about 10 years, and the technology has progressed greatly in this area, so we're now looking and talking to some vendors to upgrade our system. So if anybody has a problem like that, we can help you out. The next 2 issues kind of run together, but Officer Metterly, who was involved in an accident during a high-speed pursuit of a criminal last month, is recovering. She's still progressing with her treatment, and we're hoping that she's going to get better soon. But Lieutenant Airy has talked to the insurance company. The car was a total loss, and it was one of our newer cars. So we have a quote from New Holland Auto Group for $31,351.03. Of that, the Travelers Insurance Company is going to reimburse us $28,918.39. So the total cost to the township is $2,432.64. We're trying to ask that we get that car, that you approve that tonight. We're running a little lean on cars. We're trying to process some of our older cars out of the fleet. And whenever an incident like this happens, it seems like we have 2 more minor accidents that follow right along with it. We got 3 cars down now. So we're hoping that you could help us out with that tonight. Other than that, that's all we have going on over on the police side. If you have any questions.
Questions for Lieutenant Ward?
No questions.
I have not. Thank you.
You said Coffee with the Cop was October 7th?
October 2nd.
Oh, 2nd, okay, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
October 2nd.
October 7th.
Falls Senior Citizen Center.
Yes.
9 o'clock.
That's all I have.
Yeah, I have no questions. Thanks for the update.
Okay. Yeah, and I think while you're here, and you brought it up, I think you stole some of Mr. Gray's thunder. He likes to, reserve stuff for his own, but he was going to do the police car. I don't necessarily think anybody's going to be upset about spending $2,432.64 on a new police car. We would have to make sure this is, pending CoStar's review. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. So is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Good night.
Okay. Manager's comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a few items tonight. First item is the fire marshal provided me a quote for the purchase of a new 2018 Ford Expedition from New Holland Auto Group. This would replace a 2006 Ford Expedition that is currently in the fire marshal's fleet. Total cost of the vehicle is $44,189.90. The board is asked to consider this purchase subject to review of the CoStar's list.
Comments or questions?
I have none.
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 Is that all inclusive with the 10-8 emergency outfit as well?
I believe everything is included except for the computer and a couple minor items. It's pretty much a turnkey purchase.
Okay, because it looks like there's $5,177.90.
For the upfitting. There are a couple things that will be included. My understanding from the fire marshal, just a few items would have to be added after the purchase.
So do we need to approve that as well?
No, it would be taken out of his current vehicle and put into this one. I think he has like some trays and some shelves, and they would go into the back of this vehicle. They would fit from the current vehicle that he has into the new unit.
Okay, I know what page you're looking at. It's a confusing
Yeah.
page because it does say exclusive savings which makes me think that, it's sort of a discount, but then on the bottom, it has like $5,177.90, which seems like it's the charge. But I kind of read that as, this is what it would have cost you, but we're not charging. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I do understand why you're.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I mean, if we have to approve it next meeting, or,
Yeah.
it's fine.
See that? See what it does? Yeah, so, okay. All right. Any other questions?
None.
None.
Public comment? See none. Okay, is there a motion then to authorize the expenditure of $44,189.90 for the expedition?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Poland?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Next item I have is a letter from Mr. Sullivan regarding escrow release number 11 for Morrisville Commons. Mr. Sullivan is recommending a release of $16,236.45. The board is asked to consider escrow release number 11 to Morrisville Commons.
Okay, and the Morrisville Commons is basically the old Acme, which is currently Rite Aid, and potentially, I know there's some still legal, issues with whether or not there's going to be a Wawa there, but that's supposed to be going to court. Some people, pursuing legal angles to change that plan. So, but as of right now, it's just a Rite Aid. So $16,236.45 to be released. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
No.
No? Okay, Mrs. Poland?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Recently, the township received the application for the annual fall bare root tree offer. The bare root trees would be available in November for planting. The township has done similar bare root tree programs in prior years, planting them throughout the township. Over 495 trees have been purchased through this program by the township. An application is also included for the program. The Shade Tree Committee is requesting 15 trees at a cost of $50 for a total cost of $750. The deadline for the application was last Friday. The board is asked to consider ratifying the purchase of the 15 trees as part of the Tree Vitalize program for $750.
Comments or questions?
None.
None.
Okay, is there a motion then to ratify the expenditure of $750?
So moved.
Second?
Mrs. Poland?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Township received a letter from Dr. Gritzula at Pennsbury School District regarding the donation of a tractor. The township does have a used Toro tractor that is no longer in use by the township, and Pennsbury is requesting consideration for donation of this tractor to Pennsbury School District.
Comments or questions?
No.
None.
None.
Is there a motion then to authorize the donation of the tractor to Pennsbury School District?
So moved.
Seconded?
All in favor?
Aye.
There is the 2017 Bulk Disposal Day, which will be held on Saturday, October 14th, between the hours of 7 a.m. and 11 a.m. This bulk disposal program is for the resident homeowners of Falls Township and Tullytown Borough. Proof of residency is required. It is not intended for commercial customers or contractors. Location will be held at Groves Landfill behind the Waste Management Turkey Hill office at 1000 New Ford Mill Road. Residents can drop off bulky waste items, yard waste, and appliances. For additional information, please call 1-800-869-5566. Also, I'd like to announce several new businesses that have opened during the month of August. They include Shelmet Plumbing, located at 225 Lincoln Highway, and PA Cars and Trucks, Inc., located at 910 Lincoln Highway. And finally, I'd just like to announce that the drive time Mylars are ready for signature. And that is all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, brings us to board comment. Mr. Rocco, start down there.
No, thank you for a good evening. I'm good.
Mr. Dents?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that I was very saddened to hear of Mr. Kenny, Roland Kenny's passing. He was a regular at these meetings from probably before I was on this board. And I remember one of my first meetings, I guess it was 8 years ago almost, I commented on his Phillies jacket. He had a nice Phillies sweater on. And the next day, he dropped one off in the Township building for me. I had to take him to lunch, of course, but it was always a character, as you described him, which was true. And I was on vacation when he passed, and it was very, very sad. He will be greatly missed. That's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Boraski?
No comment.
No? Mr. Galloway?
Just to echo Mr. Dentz's comments about Mr. Kenny. Quite a man. That's all.
Okay, thank you. So I have a couple announcements here. I kind of have some stuff left with me. To begin with, in the news recently, there was an ordinance that was passed, or rather a resolution passed, no, I guess it was an ordinance, by Lower Makefield, and I believe it was somebody else did it too. Middletown? I think it was Middletown. Maybe it wasn't.
We know that Lower Makefield did it. I'm not sure who else.
Not sure who Middletown.
Yeah.
Okay. Regarding cable privacy, earlier this year, the federal government decided to strip away some protections regarding privacy with regards to cable providers and who they can give your information to be solicited for advertising. Lower Makefield circulated a draft of an ordinance which they have since passed that would require that anybody in Lower Makefield who gets any cable provider providing service in Lower Makefield would have to ask residents first, is it okay if we give out your information? And obviously if they say no, then they can't give it out. So I know that that's something that we have looked at. I believe our staff has put together a draft of that ordinance. And so if that's something we want to look forward to at a future meeting, is that something that you would like to pursue?
Yes.
Okay.
Has it been challenged at all?
No, not yet. It's relatively new, so, but we believe it will withstand challenge.
Okay. So I guess we actually could authorize advertisement at this time. Are we ready for that or no?
Yeah, you can.
We have a draft that's ready, a draft of the ordinance. It's ready. We could authorize it for advertising if you want.
Okay. We don't meet till October 17th, so if there's any reviews or anything. Sounds good? Okay, so is there a motion to authorize advertisement of that?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay. Couple of announcements. Just first, October 14th is Fallsington Day, Historic Fallsington Day. So lots of vendors there, and there's activities at the school. Typically, the Falls Township Fire Company does something that day as well. I'm assuming they do. That's usually around Fire Prevention Week. I haven't talked to them, but I'm assuming they'll stick with past practice and do that. So it's always a great time. Also on the 14th, it's going to be a busy day here in Falls Township, at the Levittown Fire Company, number 1, Fallsington Tullytown Road, from 7 to midnight, is Jerry Blavitt. The Geeter with the Heater is back in Falls. We're going to have to see if he's registered to vote here. I don't know. He's here a lot. This is yes. So advance tickets are only $35 a person. Includes a buffet, beer and soda. There's a cash bar as well. And so there's information about this. Colonial Hall Catering is the website, www.colonialhallcatering.com, as well as phone numbers, 215-945-4231. We'll also give out Mrs. Poland's private number so you can call her too if you want. So have a good time, dancing the oldies but goodies. So that's, again, on the 14th. So you have Fallsington Day in the morning. You can kind of go see Jerry Blavitt in the evening. And you
Off your bulk disposal.
drop off your bulk disposal before you go to Fallsington Day. It's a busy day, so it's a good thing. Also want to acknowledge later this week is Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. So for our Jewish residents here in Falls Township, happy Rosh Hashanah, and also Yom Kippur, which will be 10 days later. Obviously, again, blessed holiday to those Jewish residents of the community. And I wanted to sort of end on a unfortunately different note. Obviously, it's no secret to anybody that the opioid epidemic has been claiming life after life here in Bucks County as throughout the country. Several months ago, the Attorney General of Pennsylvania announced that he was, starting to investigate whether or not it was possible for the state to sue pharmaceutical manufacturers for misleading medical professionals as well as the public about how addictive these medications were. The state of Ohio has already launched a lawsuit. Other states are considering it. And I think especially in light of the fact that the current debate in the U.S. Senate as we speak about repealing and replacing Obamacare would strip away a mandate that all health insurance cover substance abuse as well as mental health. Currently, the law says you must cover those things. The proposed replacement would not cover those things. And so that's certainly, I think, a concern in light of everything that's going on. And I'm wondering if maybe a step that the board might be able to take is to look at possibly a resolution or even just a letter to the Attorney General asking him to expedite his investigation as to whether or not we should be suing as a Commonwealth the pharmaceutical manufacturers. And certainly I'd be happy to draft that and have our legal staff take a look at it as well and circulate it among the board if it's a letter to that effect, if that's okay with everybody.
Yes.
All right, thank you. And on that note, I thank everybody for their participation, a lot of public participation tonight, which was great. Moving forward with some projects in the township, private projects. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.